day. Welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic. It doesn't feel like a week, but it is a week, and we are here again. And thank you for taking time in your busy schedules to come for some knowledge. As I mentioned last time we spoke, I mentioned that this is wisdom. And I advise that we continue to seek wisdom for the benefit of our kids. And of course, if we do that, we also, it benefits us too as parents. So it's a win-win. And I really want to emphasize that. Your stopping by is not a waste of time. You're investing in your family. And I'm hoping that the topic we're going to share today would, provide knowledge in an area where I believe parents are often lost. And I know doing the research that not really much has been said or suggested around this. And I feel responsible to get this information to you. I do know that in 2013, 2014, these discussions had popped up. But then the cyber climate was not as bad as it is now. And I'm so grateful to God that I've had a push, this burden to get this information to you. So the topic we're going to focus on, I hinted at the launch of the channel that I'll be touching on this, and I'm quite passionate about that area. And it's simply, where do you place a home computer that you've purchased for the benefit of the home? What room do you place the computer in? And as trivial as that may sound, it's often a huge burden and battle for most parents. The climate that we're in is real, and I've made that quite clear. And so where you should place the computer in the room would be influenced by how much of those dangers you're aware of. I shared a blog recently on the common threats that our teenagers, our young ones are exposed to on the internet. Placing the computer strategically in the home will help alleviate, for us to avoid, those potential threats. And I'm hoping that you would relate with me. Yes, because I know that many of my friends who are parents have this burden. Okay? A golden rule that is often discussed, certainly way back, is that there should be no electronics at all in the bedroom after bedtime. So, in the past and maybe in the present, when your son or daughter is about to go to bed, to sort of pacify them, you say, just do whatever you want to do as long as you sleep. You've had a long day at work, it's been quite a burdensome day, and you just want them to go away lovingly, and you think you're doing them a favor by allowing them to go to bed with their gadgets. That is a big no-no, certainly in my books, and of course I will tell you what I've practiced. You shouldn't allow your children go to bed with an electronic gadget or electronics at all. Certainly when bedtime is due, a lot of goodwill will come out, of this down the line. And trust me, I've seen the benefits. And so those threats that I mentioned in the blog, which I will reiterate at some point during this talk, they're real. They're real, and they're quite a big deal. In many cases, many families have gone south, gone the wrong way, because they've not paid attention. So yes, where do I place the computer? You ask me. And simply, and I'm going to be as straight as possible, you must place the computer in a central place. If you like, in a public place. Somewhere that anyone who comes into the room can see what's happening on that computer. A computer should not be placed in the public or in the lounge or in the living room for any other reason other than transparency. Anyone going on that computer who is part of the family ought to be transparent. And what you'll be doing is preventing secretive living What is so personal that you can't share with the family is where I'm going with this. And a lot of harm has come to many parents who've, out of pressure to allow their children grow up in some sort of private way, they've lost the vision on what their children are doing day to day. And that has harmed many parents, many families, I should say. So place the computer in the lounge. Some say in the living room, where it will be publicly accessible. And it's important. Now, I watched a clip on YouTube, ITV, I think it's Good Morning TV. I invited a lady in who felt really, really proud of herself, that she's able to leave her son, who is underage, at home while she crosses over to go to a store. Now, I'm not here on this channel to judge parents, but I aim to relate those attitudes with how we should generally behave with or handle our children whilst engaging on the internet. The woman said she was happy enough that her son is trained to know what good to do and what wrong to avoid, and so she can easily go over the road. Yes, it's not too far, but she can go across the road to the store, leaving her underage child unattended. And it didn't seem to bother her. And the host of the TV show asked her, if a fire did break out, what exactly would you do? And how would you know that a fire has broken out? And she said, no, she's trained her son, to know what to do. And besides, if she was in the house in a different room, a fire could break out and it's the same exposure. Now, that's the reality. Many parents feel that way. And so that's why I'm not judging. I'm sure you all have your opinion about whether she's right or whether she's wrong. And I don't aim to be dramatic at all in my illustrations. But I brought that because that's closer to home. She argued that her son was trained and that the fire can start off while she was at home in a different room. Now, here's my point. We are now in an age where dangers similar to a fire starting up are lurking on the internet. And that's not being dramatic, that's being real. Leaving a son or a daughter unattended on the internet is similar to leaving the house and going across the shop. Because the dangers are real. The dangers are real, I repeat. As I said, I'm not being dramatic, but I want you to think carefully. There's some things our children are being exposed to on the internet that are so shocking that our children are sometimes almost too afraid to tell us because of fear of being told off or being condemned or reprimanded. As parents, we must quit using excuses that we're too busy. You've just come back from work, you're tired, you've had an 8-hour shift, and so you're just going to leave them to have their way on the computer. I've mentioned in other videos that we've got to be accountable, and if you want to watch some of those videos, just look, I don't know which one it is, I'm sure it's just up there. Click on the information bar to watch those videos. But we're on a journey together, and my mandate is to equip you, to encourage you, to give you the tools that you can use to, prepare and protect our children. So for most parents, I believe that placing the computer in a central area, like my recommendation is the sitting room or the living room or the lounge, as some call it. And whilst you do that, because I often also know that the husband and the wife seem to argue, oh, the computer can't be in the living room because it's out of place. It doesn't match any of the decor. Yes, I have heard those arguments. It doesn't match the decor. So those who can afford it, go all out. After all, you're investing in your children. Go all out. Not paid by IKEA, but I know they sell good they sell good stuff. So they will get a table or a chair that will match the decor. You can go to some computer stores where the computer or the laptop, whichever one you're buying, you can get them in a different color that matches. Just go all out. You're investing in your children's life. And that for me is a no-brainer. So you get it, bring it in, let it match the decor so there's no argument, just for the sake of it being central. And there's a lot down the line that you'll see that will be beneficial to your children. I mean, of course, there's some that can't afford it. And if you can't afford it, just stick with what I've said. Place it in the living room or the lounge. Let anyone who wants to do any work on the computer, you included, because you're leading by example, do it in the public room, because the living room traditionally is the place everyone spends time. And of course, if you're going to make noise in the living room because others are there, you can invest in some headphones. But ultimately, the screen is visible to all who are there, and make an attempt to, look every now and then at what they're seeing or what they're looking at. It will be beneficial to you. And that's for the sake of internet safety for our kids. Go all the way to make sure that you've purchased the computer and you've placed it in a central place where the kids are accountable. But importantly, everyone in the family is accountable. So if there's a young child in the house, it's not just mom and dad. If you have, if there are elder siblings in the house, they are as responsible for making sure that the younger ones are not exposed to filth or inappropriate content. So in the blog that I mentioned earlier, you can get to the blog if you subscribe to the website, www.familycyberclinic.com. You'll find the blogs, and those blogs are designed to be teasers to what we will share in our next video upload. So if you haven't gotten that, subscribe to the blog by visiting the website. I'll leave the link in the description. But I mentioned 4 common threads that Symantec mentioned, that's Symantec Norton, mentioned that are common on the internet that are harming our children. The first is inappropriate content. The second is chat room friends. Yes, chat room friends. And you have cyberbullying, and then you have online scams. So placing the computer centrally, I really do believe it's a no-brainer. It would help you to see what your children or our children are exposed to. God forbid they've already been caught up by some of those scams or inappropriate content viewing and all that. It will act as a deterrent if you place the computer centrally, so that secrecy is discouraged. You can monitor also how much time your son or daughter is spending on the computer. You don't have that visibility if they're in a room. Although I know that we've discussed a few things about parental controls. Again, if you look at the information bar, you'll find videos that will give you more information. But ultimately, you want to do everything so that you have control. And then, okay, because you've now placed the computer centrally, you've now got to make sure that that computer is safe. And that's where all the things they will require for school, homework, and all that, you install it. Make sure desktop publishing software is installed, like Microsoft Word or Google Docs. Make sure that, or Excel or PowerPoint, anything that's required for the child to do his or her homework on the computer that is central, make sure it's there. So that they don't have this discussion, oh, the computer doesn't have anything, or the computer is slow. Make sure that you're patching the computer when updates are released. Microsoft send update requests. Apple do the same. Make sure you're installing it so that the computer is safe. Antivirus software from McAfee, those are paid antivirus software. You can get one by clicking the link on my website to Sophos. Sophos were kind enough to provide, indeed partner with me to help me, inform you about what is on their suite and what's not. They have a free home antivirus-like software that you can download and install. And as a parent, you can manage it on many computers if you need to. So it will be useful. But again, they also have paid options. Ultimately, you must have antivirus software that will help manage any antiviruses, or rather, any viruses that come onto your computer, or malware and all that stuff. So you as the parent, you're responsible for making sure that the computer is safe for use. You must make sure that you're updating and patching the computer. So you really don't have to be technical to do this, really. An update comes up, you click it. And if you have issues around that area, please put it in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to walk you through. And in fact, if I get enough questions around that area, I'll prepare a tutorial that will help you, do a few of these things that I've recommended already. So that's, in summary, it's a short video, summary, what I wanted to present to you today. What or where should you place your computer in the home? And all those things I've mentioned should help you make that decision. And I recommend that it is placed in the living room or the lounge. Okay, as we do each week, what's new in the clinic? And happily or unhappily, nothing really that affects you as a user, but and that could easily mean that I don't have any news, but I do. I still want to advise you on things that you can do this week. I got a question from one of our community members who asked a question whether it was possible to monitor what applications our users, or rather our children, use on their smartphones or computers. And for your sake, I had to try out some of the applications that I've recommended in the past. And the two that I picked up were Custodio, which I have a link on my website, the familycyberclinic.com. You find a link there, and you can, get there and purchase. There's another one that I still believe is equally as good, called Kids Locks. And it's similar, and it helps you, lock down computers and manage. Basically, it just gives you the control. So I tried it out. I did find a little quirks here and there about delay on getting feedback, but that really was all I found wrong with it. They're paid applications, but honestly, it is worth the investment, to have control on the children that are not, really ready for this whole internet stuff. You can protect them by taking control and installing these applications. And the sort of things that it does, both applications, it monitors application usage. That's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. It protects the phone or computer from inappropriate content being revealed to your children. And thirdly, and not last, locking smartphones or computers to limit usage. You can just lock down the computer and say it's lights out. Yeah. Those are things that will help train, and it teaches the child to be accountable. We shouldn't always focus on the negatives. Oh, he or she will be a misfit. They need to be exposed. That doesn't hold any value in my book. You want the best for your child. I want the best for my child or our children. So it's important that we invest the time. The PowerPoint for this week, I'm glad to share, is that the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. I don't want you to pay the penalty. I want you to be safe, you and your children, to be safe whilst browsing on this gift, the internet. I'm your host, Cyber Pastor Lawrence Edem. See you next week. Goodbye.